is Heather Wyatt, and I am from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, which is a place known as a drinking town with a football problem. I'm actually an instructor at the University of Alabama of English, so I teach composition, creative writing, literature, etc. I'm also a writer. I love what I do, love my dogs. Let's see. I love orange soda and trash TV, and I'm not really a fan of hearing my voice on camera, so this is super awkward for me. I'm here to talk about my book, which is called My Life Without Ranch, and it's subtitled as A Roller Coaster Journey to Self-Worth. And since I was very young, I've always been very aware of the parts of my body that I'm not really a huge fan of, and that I don't really like. And I've struggled with weight and body image my entire life. And so the truth is, I'm still very much on that journey. And so the book is a lot about that. It's got essays about that that are stemming, kind of what I have felt over the years. But also, I hope that it's a conversation with the reader, with people who also understand the struggle of body image. And it's kind of a conversation, right? So, y'all, me too, I get it. And that's really what I want, is for this to be a book that people can find relatable. And it's sort of a plea to everyone, myself included, to love who you are in the moment while we are on our journey to mental and physical health. Let's see, what makes me unique as a writer? Well, in terms of writing in the category of self-help, I hope to be motivating not because I have all the answers, because I actually don't have all the answers. I'm writing a book of stories and tips and recipes about body image, and I'm writing them as a supremely unfinished product. So I hope that my readers find that relatable. Well, it's taken me years to write My Life Without Ranch in order to make it a true representation of who I really am. It's been a therapeutic piece of writing, and one that I'm glad to share with others. Having said that, because the book took such an emotional toll, I plan to move on to other projects. I'm in the process of revising a novel, and also writing an academic nonfiction book about female literary characters and mental health. And that's not to say that it's impossible for me at some point to pick up the theme of food and body image again, but for now, I think I'm going to move on to different projects. Have you ever written yourself into one of your characters? Definitely. I'm definitely somebody that writes myself into my characters. Obviously, My Life Without Ranch is about my own personal experience, but I also include a lot of life experience in the main character of the novel that I wrote. Whether it's a good thing or not, I'm not sure, but my voice is pretty strong and it creeps into everything I write, no matter what I try to do. What advice would you give to your younger writing self? As cliche as it sounds, the primary advice to myself as a young writer, as well as to any young writer or writer in general, is to never stop writing, never stop revising, never stop submitting. Write, submit, repeat, and it'll happen for you. Your time will come. I mean, you just have to keep going. Rejections or not, keep going. What is the toughest criticism you ever received, and how did you handle it? In terms of writing, I've received quite a bit of criticism. That's just part of it. But probably the toughest was in graduate school. It was the first time in my life I really couldn't get away with half-assed work, which I had done a lot in college. And I thought I could skate through. And one day my mentor called me and told me that I was not writing on a graduate level and that I was going to be in trouble if I didn't shape up. So I cried in my car for a while, and then I realized that she was right. I hadn't been giving it my all, and I've been busting my hump ever since, to be honest. I'm sort of an information sponge. I like to learn, and even if I'm moving slowly, I'm always writing, I'm always rewriting, even when I'm reading, even when I'm teaching. That's just all part of the process, and I think that graduate school kind of prepared me for that. In terms of editing My Life Without Ranch, when it comes to rewriting, I actually wrote three whole drafts of My Life Without Ranch, at least. And the book now only vaguely resembles the original version. I've cut a ton of things, and sometimes it was hard. Some of the best advice I've ever gotten was to make sure that each chapter of your book meets the ultimate goal of your whole story. Because of that, some stories have to go. I learned that at a conference, a nonfiction writing conference actually last fall in Long Island. So if you're a nonfiction writer, you should consider going to that. But it's in Sag Harbor, and that was it. And it sort of helped me realize that every chapter needed to meet the goal that I was going for. And so because of that, this version of the book looks a lot different than it did originally. If I could live in one fictional world, it would unequivocally be the wizarding world. Um, Really not sorry about that. I mean, thinking about using flue powder and just having a wand and, chit chatting over butterbeer seems like honestly a great place. And I am sort of unapologetically a Harry Potter fan, as you might be able to tell. There's the Cursed Child, and behind me is a box set, complete with an ornament too, by the way. So yeah, the Wizarding World is where it's at. That's where I would like to be. That's where I wish I could go right now, actually. Outside of other books, where do I find inspiration? Obviously I read a lot, but other than that, I'm inspired by daily conversations with people, specifically my friends and family. So much of what I write are ridiculous stories about people I've met or encountered. Some stories are over dramatized, but that's really the beauty of writing. And so, um, I was reading The Glass Menagerie again to teach it in class, and Tennessee Williams, or the character of Tom, was saying that writing means taking poetic license in a fictional world. And so somebody who's wearing just a yellow sweater turns into a woman who, with a frown and wrinkles, wearing a banana colored cable knit sweater, right? And suddenly she's this character. She's just not somebody you pass on the street. And so life is the best inspiration possible, as far as I'm concerned. And many of the people I've seen and heard about or talked to end up in what I'm writing. Did having my book published change my writing process? Well, My Life Without Ranch will be my first published book, so that's very exciting. But in terms of how it's changed my writing process, I'm not really sure yet. Um, I do know that it's the best, most terrifying thing that's ever happened to me. People are going to be actually holding my book and reading it, getting to know me very personally. And I just don't open up to everyone. When I do, I'm a very open book, but I can sometimes seem reserved or boxed away from people. And so this is going to be very revealing and very personal. And so I'm nervous about that. And so I guess, the difference between now and before I found out that 50/50 was publishing my book is that I've gone from trying to make everything perfect to just trying to not lose my lunch when I think about my family reading it. So, that's kind of what I'm dealing with in terms of how I'm writing my other stuff. It's going well. It's going differently. So I'm not really, or it's not really going any differently. I'm kind of doing the same process where I set goals each week to write, and so that hasn't really changed much. But we'll see once the book comes out. Um, Okay, so I'm going to pick up the closest book to me, which actually is right here. It's Hunger by Roxane Gay. And yeah, I bought it on a discount because, I'm a teacher, so I have to. And so this book is actually mentioned briefly in My Life Without Ranch, just as sort of a chapter to talk about sharing our inspiration or getting our inspiration from other places, and of course not being completely dependent on it. But this book is amazing, and if you haven't read it, you should. And then after you read that, you should plan to buy my book when it comes out with 50/50 Press. But I'm going to turn the book to page 27 and read the first paragraph. So let's see. Okay. There is a picture of me. My older cousin is holding me the weekend of my christening. I am still an infant, wearing a long white satin gown. We are sitting on a plastic-covered couch in New York City. In the picture, my cousin is older, maybe 5 or 6. I am squirming with senseless baby rage, my limbs in awkward angles. I am grateful that there are so many pictures of me from my childhood, because there is so much I have forgotten in one way or another. And this book really speaks to me, and I hope that if I can even come close to reaching the same sort of narrative that Roxane Gay does and using those details, my life will be complete. So I've really enjoyed talking to you, and I hope that you enjoyed the book. And if you're a writer, keep writing and never stop. Okay, thank you.